What's going on, everybody? Poppin' here. VBLS Season 8 is coming to a close very, very soon. We have our final stream this Sunday, which is in less than 24 hours from the time of recording. And one of these four teams will be crowned the champion of Season 8, the first champion of Scarlet and Violet. So, looking forward, considering the new season, all that kind of fun stuff. We're starting to do our polling, trying to figure out what exactly we're going to be doing, how the format's going to work, what's going to be legal, what's not. And it looks like it's going to be Regulation C, which is a format with a pretty significant jump in power. The top three tiers of this new tier list we're tentatively working on are all entirely new mons to this format. All the Paradox mons, all the Ruin mons are unleashed, and they're just going to put this last season's top tiers to shame. But you know, I'm super excited for these new mons to join the format. I think Paradox forms are some of the coolest gimmicks we've ever seen, at least for a very long time. And I think every team that's going to participate in the draft is really going to try to prioritize picking one, and at least picking a good one as soon as possible. So, don't be surprised when Fluttermane, Valiant, and Roaring Moon are the first three picks of each draft. These mons offer the insane power creep that we've all gotten used to, but are uniquely suited to draft. Playing in a format with item claws, slapping a booster energy on them is a great way to free up item slots for the rest of your team. If you're in a spot where you really find yourself wanting to run 2 life orbs or maybe 2 choice scarfs, there you go. You got the booster energy, take your pick. It can be both. And beyond that, these new Paradox mons offer new and unique incentives to pick up weather and terrain control mons. For example, you'd rather not be facing the team that gets the core drive for free without even running the booster energy. And I really do think that every Paradox mon available is going to end up getting drafted. If not for the fact that they're just the cool new toys, I really think that even the worst of them, like Iron Thorns, does have a place on a draft squad. But Poppin', you say there's only 14 Paradox mons! If you have 16 coach draft pools, won't 2 coaches necessarily miss picking up a Paradox mon? To that I say very true. And if this was all that was being added to the format, I still think that would be enough to spice things up. What very well may be the best legendary group of all time is also joining the format. Don't at me, Tapus and Genies. The Ruin mons are absolutely bonkers. So bonkers that Game Freak already nerfed them. But to be honest, it definitely isn't enough to keep them from shining. These 4 mons are all in the top 40. And Wo Chien is probably going to be moved up, making it an even more selective group. And this isn't even a case of us being overly cautious as drafting either. These mons are absolute just abominations. Chi-Yu has 197 effective special attack, Qian Pao has 175 effective attack, Ting Lu is the bulkiest Pokemon in the format, full stop, and Wo Chien is just outside the top 10 in bulk, but it has probably the best ability and move pool combo of the 4 Ruin mons, so whichever you pick, you're going to end up being happy. So Regulation C in Draft is looking to be one of the most high power formats yet. And the DLC for this game hasn't even come out yet. Like, think of the difference between Sword and Shield's power level day 1 and how it ended. And I think we're probably past the Crown Tundra in terms of power, and we're just getting started. But this video isn't actually about Regulation C. In fact, it's not about a mon that's even in this format. The mon that I want to highlight in this video, not a single person knows when it's going to be legal. But it'll be soon. When looking at the Pokemon chosen for the Scarlet and Violet regional decks, you'll notice something interesting. Every mon originating from Pokemon Legends Arceus, or any Pokemon related to those mons, they're all in the game. But at the time of recording, only one has been released, Hisuian Zoroark. This video is about these Hisuian mons. Assuming you've been a good boy and playing only on card in the officially sanctioned Battle Stadium formats, you've never had a chance to use these mons in a legit battle yet. I'm not talking Swift style and Strong style. A real legit turn-based Pokemon game. So this video is going to be about a mon for Pokemon Legends Arceus that will be introduced soonish to Scarlet and Violet, and briefly talk about its potential in the Draft League format, and take everything in this video with a grain of salt. When Scarlet and Violet were first data mined, Hisuian Zoroark had the stats of the original Zoroark, but then when they dropped it, they reverted it back to what its stats were in Legends Arceus, so if movesets change a little bit, or if base stats are slightly tweaked, I have no way of knowing that right now. This is only going off the current data we have and what's currently usable on Showdown. So what mons got introduced in Legends Arceus? Some really cool ones. A bunch of old mons that got a nice fresh coat of paint, like Typhlosion and Samurott. Some old forgotten mons, particularly from Gen 2, got some brand new evolutions, and there were even some that didn't quite make so much sense, like Braviary and Avalugg, two Pokemon that already aren't that great, got worse. Definitely an inspired decision. But one thing I can say about all of them is that they're just so cool, and I am super excited to draft them. Most of all, Overquill. Overquill is a much-needed evolution of Hisui and Quillfish, which is another new Pokemon, and holy moly is this thing promising in draft. But before we start talking about Overquill, we gotta talk about Quillfish first. So Quillfish has always been a decent-ish option in draft for a low-cost Intimidate Mon with a couple extra options, but it's always been relatively frail. Discounting Intimidate, it has as much physical bulk as Klefki and as much special bulk as a Slowpoke without a Violite. And having lost access to Pain Split this gen, that bulk is more sus than ever. Especially considering that your opponent could just run Clear Amulet and then eliminate the benefit of Intimidate on a key Pokemon. So if Quillfish can't reliably serve the role of a cheap Intimidator, what else can it do? Well, it has a couple other things. It has Haze, which is cool. It has Destiny Bond. I think it's the only Pokemon that gets both of those. But it doesn't really do much unless you want to try to run Swift Swim and go offensive, in which case you really don't have as much power as you would like from a Swift Swimmer. The only Swift Swim Mon with lower attacking stats is Lumineon, which is a pretty pathetically low bar. So what are you left with? A Mon that can maybe run Minimize Shenanigans without a healing move? I couldn't tell you. To be honest, I was considering picking up Quillfish towards the back half of this most recent season. I was looking at the schedule and thinking if I did have to play a Dondozo team, it would help me out there. But I did the math wrong, obviously, and I didn't pick it up, and when I faced Canner, I got dumpstered, which maybe Quillfish could have played a part in preventing that. It does have a good matchup into Bisharp, Dondozo, Heracross, and with Terra, it can kind of play around all that. But, you know, you live and you learn. So, considering that Quillfish isn't so good anymore, and time's kind of taken its toll on it, why do I think Overquill is going to be any better? When it comes to bulk, Overquill has it beat by a significant margin. Overquill is about 25% more physically bulky and 18% more specially bulky, which is great, but Overquill's not competing with just regular Quillfish anymore, it's also competing with Hisuian Quillfish within a Violite. But when you consider the fact that Overquill can run a Citrus Berry or other health restoring items, it evens out to be effectively as bulky as the Eviolite Hisuian Quillfish. You see there, they're popping right into the same, meaning they're effectively as bulky, and that's across both sides of the spectrum. And even look at the individual effective defense and effective special defense stats, they're essentially identical. That's within a rounding error. So, they're about the same. But bulk isn't everything though. Overquill has the other Quillfishes both beat when it comes to offense. Being able to hold boosting items, it greatly outshines both of them, considering that Hisuian Quillfish is most likely going to be running in a Violite. Even without a boosting item, it's going to have about 13% more firepower than either of them, and considering that it will likely be able to run a boosting item, it just goes from there. But don't worry, it gets better. Poison is generally a universally good defensive typing, but when you pair it with Dark, it skyrockets to become one of the best. When you look at the coming format, it's the 11th best defensive typing and the 3rd best non-steel type defensive typing, on average taking 10% less damage per attack than Water Poison does. So while Water Poison is a good type, I don't want to get that wrong, I don't want to get it twisted, Dark Poison is even better. But don't worry, it gets better. Overquill doesn't have to be the passive team member that Quillfish and Hisuian Quillfish tend to be. It has the stats to play multiple different roles on a team. It can be a bulky Intimidator, it can be a Swift Swimmer, it can be a setup attacker, and I think it can do it all pretty well. So I've got a couple sets here for Overquill as examples. And whenever I get the chance to draft this Mon, I trust that you'll see even more of these. So, here's a Citrus Berry Overquill set. General kind of team support, Intimidate, Taunt, Barbarage, Protect, and Icy Wind are good utility moves. Barbarage is something that I really like and I think is going to make a big impact. 50% poison is huge, 12% chip over time is great from what we learned from Salt Cure, and being able to double the damage on the next hit is amazing. If you're running into a team with a lot of steel types or fearing Terra Steel, just run Crunch instead. That also has a chance to drop the defense, meaning the next hits are going to get stronger and stronger. Here is a Life Orb Swift Swim Overquill with Terra Water. You can run Gunk Shot and or Liquidation depending on which coverage you need for the week. Crunch is a great move. Then you can run Protect, and Overquill gets Swords Dance. You can tailor the speed and attack to whatever you want to outspeed whatever you need, but base 85 is going to be pretty fast most of the time at Swift Swim. We have an Assault Vest Overquill here with Intimidate. This is again a team support, running Barbarage and Icy Wind as we did in the first set, but running I don't know why Dark Pulse, meant should be Crunch. And Chilling Water for additional attack drops across the board. You can also run Acid Spray. That's another option that this mon gets. It's not the fastest Acid Spray user, but 85 isn't nothing. We also get another kind of wacky set here. An Intimidate Leftovers Minimize Acupressure ridiculous Overquill set. This is just planning to cheese out games, and I've lost to Acupressure before from another Poison Dark type, that being Drapion. And Overquill is bulkier than Drapion, has a better ability than Drapion, and is just going to have better support moves as well. Barbarage is great, Crunch is great, Protect is always good to help get some chip healing. And lastly, if you just want to go really crazy with it, you can run a Choice Band Swift Swim Overquill. You can run pretty much any moves you want on here. This is kind of a meme. This is Terra Normal Self-Destruct. Not quite as much damage as Terra Normal Explosion, but it does have a very high attack stat, one of the stronger self-destructs in the format, especially if you Terra. So these sets are really just the tip of the Overquill. And I mean it when I say that this thing was my favorite mon added in Gen 8. And I've been waiting more than a year to use this in an actual battle. This thing was on my team in Legends Arceus. I loved it. I wanted to draft it. Season 8 wasn't released. Okay. Wanted to draft it Season 9. It doesn't look like it's going to be released either. Shit. Alright. Well, the best I can do is make a video about it. So Overquill is the coolest mon from Legends Arceus that'll be coming to a draft near you sometime soon. But it's not the only mon from that game that I'm planning to do a little video about and talk about. So, based on these silhouettes, can you think of any two mons that I might be looking to discuss a little bit? Leave a comment on which mons from that game you want me to discuss, which ones you plan on drafting, what are you most excited for. I'm trying to do this whole YouTube thing, right? That's all I got for today. I'll see you in the next one. Adios.